do not need to announce dominance. The moment you announce it, you cheapen it. Real authority does not enter the room begging to be recognized. It arrives quietly, stands still, and lets weak eyes adjust to its weight. Most men ruin their power because they cannot resist the urge to perform. They laugh too loudly. They explain too much. They answer disrespect too quickly. They reveal every feeling on their face like strangers deserve access to their inner world. That is not strength. That is leakage. And every leak becomes a handle someone can use to move you. You must become harder to read, not because you are empty, but because you are disciplined. Your face should not confess every storm. Your voice should not betray every wound. Your body should not flinch every time someone tests you. The world is full of people searching for reactions. They poke, insult, flatter, question, and provoke because they want to know where your strings are. A man who reacts instantly gives away the map to his own control room. A man who pauses becomes dangerous because nobody knows whether he is calm, calculating, or preparing something they are not ready for. This is the first rule of silent command. Stop feeding people your emotional evidence. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them sit across from you and feel that there is more behind your eyes than you are willing to reveal. Do not rush to correct every opinion. Do not chase every misunderstanding. Do not wrestle with every fool who throws noise at your feet. Your attention is not public property. Your energy is not a street market. Your words are not loose coins to be thrown at anyone who begs for sound. When you hold your silence correctly, it becomes pressure. It makes the loud man overtalk. It makes the arrogant man expose his insecurity. It makes the fake confident man search your face for approval and find nothing. This is where quiet power begins. You do not dominate by raising your voice. You dominate by refusing to be dragged into the emotional climate of lesser men. You remain centered while they perform. You remain measured while they unravel. You remain still while they reveal the weakness they tried to hide. So from this moment, stop trying to look powerful and start becoming difficult to disturb. Let your posture carry consequence. Let your eyes become selective. Let your speech arrive late, clean, and necessary. Speak only when your words increase your position. Move only when movement serves your purpose. React only when reaction gives you advantage. Anything else is obedience to impulse, and impulse is the leash of ordinary men. Comment this phrase below. My presence speaks before I do. Write it like a man closing a gate behind him. Because the first step to becoming untouchable is learning that silence is not absence. Silence is ownership. Number 1. Never give them your reaction for free. You lose power the moment your reaction becomes predictable. Understand that deeply. Most people are not attacking you because they are strong. They are attacking you because they are curious. They want to know what controls you. They want to see which word makes your jaw tighten, which insult makes your eyes change, which disrespect pulls you out of your frame. They are not always looking for a fight. Sometimes they are looking for a button, and when they find it, they will press it again, then again, then again, until you realize you trained them how to handle you. That is why your first weapon is not anger, it is delay, a pause, a cold second of silence before you respond. That pause is not emptiness, that pause is command. It tells the other person that your nervous system does not belong to them. It tells them they do not get instant access to your emotion. It tells them they are speaking to a man who filters the world before he answers it. This is where quiet dominance begins, not in the mouth, not in the fists, not in loud declarations. It begins in the space between what happens to you and what you allow out of you. A weak man reacts like a machine. Press his pride and he explodes. Press his insecurity and he explains. Press his loneliness and he chases. Press his ego and he performs. That kind of man can be ruled without chains because his emotions are already tied to someone else's hand. But you are not here to be ruled. You are here to become untouchable. That means no one gets to rent space inside your mind just because they came with noise. No one gets to pull you into chaos just because they are drowning in their own. No one gets to make you dance just because they brought music. Look at how people expose themselves when you refuse to react. The rude person becomes more rude. The liar keeps adding details. The jealous one starts joking too much. The insecure one tries to make you uncomfortable. Why? Because your stillness denies them feedback. They expected you to defend yourself. You did not. They expected you to become emotional. You did not. They expected you to chase approval. You did not. Now they have to face something far more intimidating than your anger. They have to face your control. Cold power is not about being heartless. It is about being unavailable to manipulation. There is a difference. You can feel everything and still reveal nothing. You can notice disrespect and still choose timing over impulse. You can understand exactly what someone is doing and still let them continue, because every extra word they speak gives you more information. A fool thinks silence means you have no answer. A strategist knows silence means the answer is being sharpened. Never interrupt your enemy while he is exposing himself. Never rescue a manipulator from his own performance. Never correct someone too early when their arrogance is still speaking. Let them show you their pattern. Let them show you their appetite. Let them show you how far they are willing to go when they believe you are passive. Most people cannot hide themselves for long in front of a man who does not feed them reaction. They will start reaching. They will start pushing. They will start revealing the part of themselves they wanted to keep covered, and you will see it clearly because you are not busy defending your ego. This is how dominance works without saying anything. You become the mirror they cannot stand. Your calm reflects their instability. Your silence exposes their hunger. Your still posture makes their restless energy look childish. You do not need to call them weak. They will demonstrate it. You do not need to call yourself strong. Your restraint will do that for you. But hear this. Silence only works when it is backed by self-respect. If you stay quiet because you are afraid, people will feel it. If you stay quiet because you do not know what to do, people will smell it. If you stay quiet because you are secretly begging the situation to end, your silence will look like surrender. That is not what I am teaching you. I am teaching you the silence of a man who has options, the silence of a man who can speak but chooses not to waste the weapon, the silence of a man who can walk away without looking back, cut access without making an announcement, and remove warmth without giving a speech. Your silence must have boundaries behind it. If someone disrespects you, you do not need to bark. You simply reduce access. If someone lies to you, you do not need to rage. You simply stop giving them the privilege of trust. If someone tries to embarrass you, you do not need to compete in public. You let the moment pass, then make your distance permanent. That is colder than anger. Anger gives people drama. Distance gives them consequence. Most men are addicted to immediate victory. They want the perfect comeback, the sharp reply, the public win. They want everyone to see that they were not affected. But needing people to see that you are unaffected is already proof that you were affected. Real control does not ask for witnesses. It does not need applause. It does not need the room to understand the move. It only needs the move to serve the outcome. There will be moments when someone speaks to you with disrespect, and every primitive part of you will want to answer. Your chest will heat. Your pride will rise. Your mouth will prepare a weapon. That is the moment you must become commander over yourself. Breathe once. Look at them. Not with hatred, not with fear. Look at them like you just learned something useful. Then decide. Is this person worth correction, or are they only worth removal? Is this moment worth energy, or is it beneath your standard? Is your response going to increase your power, or simply feed your emotion? That question will save you from many traps, because not every battle is a battlefield. Some battles are bait. Some people insult you because they need your attention to feel alive. Some people provoke you because they cannot reach you any other way. Some people disrespect you because they want to drag you down to a level where they have experience. Do not follow them there. A king does not climb into mud to prove he is clean. He remains above it and lets the mud identify who belongs to it. Comment this phrase below. My reaction is earned, not stolen. Put it in the comments like a warning to your old self. Because the old self gave emotion to anyone who knocked. The new self owns the door. From now on, become expensive to provoke. Let people pay with consistency, respect, and truth before they receive the deeper parts of you. Stop offering your intensity to people who only know how to misuse it. Stop explaining your soul to those who only came to collect weaknesses. Stop letting temporary emotions make permanent decisions. A man who masters his reaction becomes difficult to dominate because the world no longer knows where to grab him. And once the world cannot grab you, it starts negotiating with you differently. People lower their tone, they choose their words. They sense that your calm is not softness, it is stored force. It is a closed fist inside a velvet glove. It is the quiet awareness of a man who does not need to threaten because he has already decided what he will tolerate and what he will leave behind. That is the difference between a man who wants dominance and a man who carries it. One performs strength, the other withholds access. One reacts to every spark. The other decides which fires deserve oxygen. One is controlled by the room. The other changes the temperature without asking permission. So do not rush. Do not twitch. Do not explain yourself into a smaller shape. Let your silence stand beside you like armor. Let your pause become your signature. Let your restraint become the thing that makes people uncertain. Because when your reaction cannot be stolen, your power cannot be handled. Number 2. Make your absence feel like a consequence. There is a kind of power that does not come from entering the room. It comes from leaving it. Most men do not understand this. They think dominance means staying, arguing, proving, correcting, pushing, forcing the other person to admit they were wrong. That is the instinct of a man still begging for recognition. He wants closure from people who feed on confusion. He wants apology from people who profit from disrespect. He wants justice from people who only respect consequence. But the man who truly understands power does not always confront. Sometimes he withdraws, quietly, cleanly, permanently. Your absence must become heavier than your anger. When someone crosses a line, do not always give them a speech. Speeches teach people how deeply they reached you. Long explanations give them emotional evidence. Repeated warnings train them to believe your boundaries are negotiable. A man who keeps explaining his standards is usually not enforcing them. So learn a colder method. Reduce access. Remove warmth. Step back without theater. Let your silence become the locked door they did not expect to find. This is not childish ignoring. This is not emotional punishment. This is strategy. There is a difference between sulking and withdrawing power. Sulking is a wounded boy hoping someone notices his pain. Strategic withdrawal is a controlled man deciding that his energy no longer belongs in a place where it is being wasted. One seeks attention, the other removes privilege. One says, "Look what you did to me." The other says nothing, and the absent speaks with more authority than 1,000 complaints. People value what they can lose. Remember that. If your attention is always available, it becomes cheap. If your forgiveness is automatic, it becomes expected. If your presence remains steady after repeated disrespect, it becomes proof that your standards are decorative. You may think patience makes you noble, but without consequence, patience becomes permission. And the moment people sense that your boundaries have no teeth, they stop treating them like boundaries. A powerful man does not threaten distance, he creates it. He does not announce, "I am leaving." He leaves. He does not beg to be treated correctly. He lets people experience the cost of treating him incorrectly. This is where many lose their edge. They want the other person to understand. They want them to feel guilty. They want them to chase. But chasing the reaction to your absence is still attachment. The point is not to make them suffer. The point is to protect your throne. Your throne is your inner state, your focus, your energy, your direction, your discipline. Every person you allow near it either guards it, strengthens it, respects it, or contaminates it. You cannot become untouchable while giving unlimited access to chaotic people. You cannot build cold power while staying emotionally available to those who use your openness against you. You cannot command your future while dragging people behind you who only know how to create disorder. Look at the pattern. A person disrespects you once, and you explain. They do it again, and you become emotional. They do it again, and you ask why. They do it again, and now you are negotiating for basic respect. At that point, you are no longer standing in power. You are auditioning for decency. And a man who auditions for decency has already been moved out of his frame. Never negotiate the minimum. Respect is the floor, not the prize. If someone cannot meet the floor, they do not belong in the building. Do not lower the entrance fee because you are afraid of standing alone. Solitude with dignity is better than company with erosion. A man surrounded by people who drain him is not connected. He is occupied. And some of you are not tired because life is hard. You are tired because your circle has too many open leaks. There are people who only understand your value when your presence disappears. They ignored your calm because it was consistent. They abused your loyalty because it was predictable. They tested your patience because it seemed endless. Then one day, you stop explaining. You stop reaching. You stop feeding the connection with your energy. And suddenly, the silence you leave behind becomes uncomfortable. Not because you attacked them, but because you removed the supply they thought was guaranteed. That is the brutal truth. Many people are not loyal to you. They are loyal to your availability. They are loyal to your emotional labor. They are loyal to the version of you that absorbs their chaos and still returns with open hands. The moment you become selective, they call you cold. The moment you enforce peace, they call you arrogant. The moment you stop being convenient, they call you changed. Let them. Changed is exactly what a man says when he finally stops volunteering for his own disrespect. Do not fear being misunderstood by people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Their confusion is not your responsibility. Their discomfort is not your assignment. Their disappointment is not evidence that you are wrong. Sometimes people are disappointed because they can no longer use the old version of you. That is not cruelty. That is promotion. Comment this phrase below. My absence has weight. Write it like a man who has stopped arguing with locked doors. Write it like someone who finally understands that access to him is not a common resource. It is earned. Now listen carefully. Absence is only powerful when it is disciplined. Do not disappear today and return tomorrow with emotional excuses. Do not remove access and then stalk their reaction. Do not walk away while secretly hoping they run after you. That is not power. That is dependency wearing a mask. When you withdraw, withdraw with purpose. When you become silent because the chapter no longer deserves your voice. When you create distance, let it be rooted in self-command, not wounded pride. A dangerous man does not need revenge every time he is wronged. Sometimes his revenge is growth. Sometimes his revenge is indifference. Sometimes his revenge is becoming unreachable to the version of people who thought they could keep mishandling him. He does not have to destroy them. He simply outgrows their access. He lets them keep their opinions, their excuses, their little stories, their need to paint him as the villain. Meanwhile, he builds, he sharpens, he rises, quietly. That is the most terrifying kind of separation. Not the loud exit, not the dramatic speech, not the emotional explosion, the silent upgrade, the moment when a man stops trying to be chosen and starts choosing. The moment when he stops asking, why did they treat me this way? And starts asking, why did I keep giving them permission? That question creates a new man, a colder man, a more precise man, a man who no longer confuses attachment with loyalty. People will test your absence. They will send small signals, a message, a joke, a casual comment, a false apology with no changed behavior behind it. They will try to see if the door is still unlocked. Do not be seduced by crumbs. A person who lost access must return with transformation, not nostalgia. Words are cheap. Patterns are expensive. Do not let a sentence undo what a pattern proved. This is where dark psychology becomes defensive intelligence. You stop listening only to what people say, and you begin watching what they repeat. A manipulator can fake regret for one conversation. They cannot fake discipline for months. An envious person can praise you once. They cannot support your rise consistently. A disrespectful person can act humble when they fear losing you. They cannot hide their entitlement forever. Time reveals what charm conceals. So give time room to speak, step back and observe. Let people show you whether they miss you or merely miss your usefulness. Let them show you whether they respect your boundary or resent that it exists. Let them show you whether their apology is a doorway to change or just a rope thrown around your attention. And while they reveal themselves, do not freeze your life waiting. Move, train, work, create. Build your body into proof of discipline. Build your mind into a private fortress. Build your money, your skill, your taste, your spiritual distance. Become so invested in your own ascension that losing access to you feels natural to those who refuse to evolve. Not because you hate them, because you no longer live at the level where they first found you. This is how you become untouchable. Not by fighting every hand that reaches for you, but by becoming difficult to reach. Not by punishing people, but by relocating your energy where it is respected. Not by begging to be valued, but by making your presence rare enough to be noticed and your absence final enough to be feared. From now on, stop giving people unlimited chances to misunderstand your worth. Give them your calm once. Give them your clarity once. Then let consequence speak. A man who knows how to leave without shaking becomes dangerous in a world addicted to emotional noise. He cannot be trapped by guilt. He cannot be bought by flattery. He cannot be held by history when the present is insulting his future. And when you walk away, do not look back every few steps to see whether they are watching. That is not departure. That is performance. Walk like your direction matters more than their reaction. Walk like your peace has a destination. Walk like a man whose silence has already made the final decision. Because sometimes the most dominant thing you can say is nothing. Sometimes the most powerful move is the space you create. And sometimes the coldest punishment is letting people live without the version of you they failed to respect. Number 3. Control the temperature without touching the fire. The room does not belong to the loudest man. It belongs to the man who can change the mood without begging for attention. Understand this. Influence is not always movement. Sometimes influence is gravity. A disciplined man does not chase the room's energy. He becomes the point around which that energy begins to shift. He does not laugh because others laugh. He does not become tense because others panic. He does not rush because others are impatient. He carries his own climate into every space, and slowly, people begin adjusting to it. This is where silent dominance becomes refined. You stop reacting to the atmosphere and start setting it. If the room is chaotic, you become slower. If voices rise, yours becomes lower. If people act desperate, you become measured. If someone tries to pressure you, you give them less speed, not more. Speed is often the trap. Pressure wants urgency. Manipulation wants confusion. Weak people want you hurried because a hurried man becomes easier to steer. But when you slow down, you reclaim command. You force the situation to meet your pace. Never let another person's panic become your schedule. Never let another person's emotion become your instruction. The world will constantly try to pull you into its nervous rhythm. Messages demand instant replies. People demand immediate explanations. Arguments demand emotional participation. Insults demand defense. Temptation demands surrender. But the man who owns himself does not obey every knock at the gate. He decides what enters. He decides what waits. He decides what dies outside the wall. Your calm must become difficult to interrupt. This does not mean you move through life like stone. It means you do not hand your nervous system to strangers, enemies, lovers, critics, or crowds. You keep your center private. You let others bring storms, but you do not become weather. That is masculine control at its highest level, not the childish desire to dominate everyone else. The colder ability to dominate yourself when everyone else is losing shape. People trust the man who does not tremble under pressure. They may not love him. They may not understand him, but they sense structure in him. They sense that he has a command post inside his chest. And in a world full of emotional civilians, the man with internal command becomes magnetic. His silence does not feel empty, it feels organized. His pause does not feel weak, it feels intentional. His eyes do not search for permission, they decide what deserves entry. This is why your face matters, your posture matters, your breathing matters. Every part of you is speaking before your mouth opens. A clenched jaw says you are trying too hard. A nervous smile says you are asking to be accepted. Restless hands say your mind is not under orders. Wandering eyes say you are looking for rescue. Train these betrayals out of your body, not because you want to look artificial, but because your body must become loyal to your will. Stand like you are not waiting to be chosen. Sit like you do not need approval to exist. Look at people as if you are listening, not begging. Speak with enough space between your words that your meaning has weight. Do not rush to fill silence. Silence is not an empty room. Silence is a throne if you can sit on it without discomfort. Comment this phrase below: I carry my own climate. Let those words mark the end of your old dependency. You are no longer a man whose mood is rented out to every passing situation. When someone tries to embarrass you, do not match their ugliness. When someone tries to rush you, do not sacrifice your precision. When someone becomes dramatic, do not audition for their theater. Stay clean, stay cold, stay above the hook. The moment you descend into their emotional mud, they have succeeded. They do not need to defeat you. They only need to make you resemble them. This is the hidden warfare most men never notice. People are not only competing with your achievements, they are competing with your state. A miserable person wants company in misery. A frantic person wants you frantic. A jealous person wants you defensive. A disrespectful person wants you loud enough to look guilty. If they can make you lose your form, they can pretend you were never above them. So protect your form like territory. Do not confuse calm with softness. Calm is not weakness. Calm is domination under restraint. It is a blade held steady instead of waved around by an amateur. A man who cannot be rushed becomes difficult to manipulate. A man who cannot be embarrassed becomes difficult to shrink. A man who cannot be emotionally recruited into every conflict becomes difficult to control. And this is exactly what you are building: a private command system, a disciplined exterior, a mind that does not sprint just because the world starts running. You are learning to sit inside pressure without becoming pressure. You are learning to observe fire without throwing yourself into it. You are learning that the strongest man in the room is not always the one who moves first. Sometimes he is the one who makes everyone wonder why he has not moved yet. So let others burn energy trying to prove themselves. Let them speak too quickly. Let them expose their need. Let them panic, push, perform, and chase. You remain sovereign. You remain deliberate. You remain hard to disturb. Because the man who controls the temperature does not need to touch the fire. He only needs to stand there long enough for everyone else to feel the heat change. Number 4. Turn your eyes into a weapon. Your eyes reveal who owns you. Before you speak, before you move, before you defend yourself, your eyes have already confessed whether you are centered or searching. Most people look at the world like they are asking for permission. They scan faces to see if they are accepted. They look away too quickly when pressure appears. They smile with their eyes before they have decided whether the person in front of them deserves warmth. This is why they get handled. Their gaze is not a weapon. It is a window left open. You must learn to close that window, not by glaring like a boy trying to look dangerous, not by staring like an animal without control. That is insecurity wearing a mask. The controlled gaze is different. It is calm, steady, selective. It does not chase. It does not beg. It does not flinch when someone brings tension into the space. It watches with patience, as if every detail is being recorded and nothing needs to be announced yet. A powerful gaze does not say, "Fear me." It says, "I see you." And that is far more unsettling. People can resist aggression. They can argue with threats. They can laugh at loud displays. But they struggle against being seen clearly. The liar hates calm eyes. The manipulator hates patient eyes. The arrogant man hates eyes that do not worship him. The jealous person hates eyes that notice the small poison hidden under the joke. When you stop reacting and start seeing, you become dangerous without lifting a hand. This is one of the coldest forms of dominance, observation without exposure. You notice the change in tone. You notice who becomes quiet when your name is praised. You notice who jokes only when there is an audience. You notice who respects you in private but tests you in public. You notice who asks questions to understand you and who asks questions to locate your weakness. You do not need to call it out immediately. Calling everything out is amateur behavior. You simply store the information. That is how a strategic man moves. He does not waste insight on emotional announcements. He collects. He compares. He waits. He lets patterns repeat until the truth becomes too clear to deny. Then he adjusts access. No drama, no courtroom, no long explanation. He simply changes the distance. Your eyes must become disciplined enough to observe without exposing your conclusion. When someone lies, do not let your face rush to accuse them. When someone disrespects you, do not let your eyebrows perform injury. When someone flatters you, do not melt like a starving man handed bread. When someone tries to intimidate you, do not blink your power away. Stay present, stay quiet. Let your eyes hold their place. A man who controls his gaze controls the first layer of perception, and perception is power. People decide how to treat you long before they understand you. They read your pace, your posture, your hesitation, your silence, your eye contact. They decide whether you can be rushed, mocked, seduced, guilted, interrupted, or ignored. Every careless glance teaches them something. Every nervous look gives them a clue. Every desperate search for approval tells them your throne is empty. So fill the throne. Look like you belong inside yourself. Look like your mind is not begging for rescue. Look like your attention has a gate around it. Do not throw your eyes everywhere. Cheap attention creates cheap treatment. If everyone can have your gaze instantly, your gaze has no value. Make your attention slower. Make it chosen. Make it something people feel when it lands. This does not mean acting superior. Forced superiority is insecurity with expensive clothes. True authority is quieter. You do not need to look down on people. You simply stop looking up at them from inside yourself. You do not worship status. You do not tremble before beauty. You do not shrink before aggression. You do not become smaller in front of money, popularity, charm, or loud confidence. You meet the world from your own height. That is masculine composure, not hatred, not cruelty. Height. When you speak to someone, hold enough eye contact to show presence, then release it with control. Do not stare because you are trying to dominate. Staring too long can reveal effort. Effort reveals need. Need weakens the frame. Instead, let your gaze be natural but anchored. You are not trying to win a childish contest. You are showing that your attention is not afraid to stand still. And when you listen, listen like a man who is weighing the person, not chasing their approval. Let your face remain clean. Let your breathing stay low. Let their words arrive without immediately touching your emotions. This will disturb people who are used to controlling others through tone, guilt, pressure, and performance. They will feel that their usual tools are not entering you. That is exactly what you want. Comment this phrase below. My eyes do not ask permission. Write it with calm force, because once your gaze stops begging, your presence starts commanding. But remember this, eyes alone are not enough. Your gaze must be backed by inner law. Without inner law, eye contact becomes acting, and acting collapses under pressure. Inner law means you know what you tolerate. You know what you refuse. You know what you are building. You know where your life is going. A man with no direction cannot hold a powerful gaze for long, because behind his eyes there is no kingdom, only noise. Build the kingdom. Build it in private. Build it when no one praises you. Build it through discipline, restraint, training, study, solitude, and hard decisions. Build it every time you choose silence over explanation, standards over attachment, distance over disrespect, patience over impulse. Then your eyes will change naturally. They will stop looking hungry. They will stop looking scattered. They will stop looking like they are waiting for the world to approve your existence. They will look settled, and settled eyes are rare. Most people are restless because they are internally divided. One part of them wants power. Another part wants comfort. One part wants respect. Another part wants approval. One part wants freedom. Another part wants to be liked by the same people who drain them. That conflict shows. It shows in the eyes. It shows in the nervous smile. It shows in the quick glance away. It shows in the need to explain. You must end that civil war. Choose the man you are becoming, then let the weaker versions of you starve. The approval addict, the over-explainer, the performer, the man who laughs at disrespect to keep the peace, the man who tolerates small humiliations because he fears losing access, the man who lowers his gaze in front of pressure. Let those versions die without ceremony. They were never protecting you. They were negotiating your chains. A controlled gaze is born when a man stops negotiating with his own weakness. Once that happens, people sense the shift. They may not know what changed. They may not have words for it, but they will feel it. You will enter conversations differently. You will hear disrespect differently. You will recognize manipulation faster. You will stop rewarding people with emotional reactions they did not earn. Your eyes will no longer say, "Please understand me." They will say, "I have already understood enough." That is cold power, not cold because you lack feeling. Cold because your feeling no longer drives the vehicle. And when your eyes carry that kind of command, silence becomes sharper. A pause becomes heavier. A simple look can end a foolish test before it grows legs. You will not need to raise your voice as often. You will not need to defend every boundary with a lecture. People will begin sensing the wall before they touch it. That is the goal. To become a man whose limits can be felt before they are spoken, a man whose attention feels earned, a man whose calm gaze makes lies uncomfortable, a man whose eyes do not wander like beggars but rest like soldiers. So train them. Stop looking away from discomfort. Stop staring at the ground when challenged. Stop scanning the room for approval. Stop giving warm eyes to cold people. Stop giving full attention to half respect. Let your gaze become cleaner, slower, more deliberate. Let it belong to you before you give it to anyone else. Because the eyes of a disciplined man are not decorations. They are guards at the gate, and when the guards stop sleeping, the enemy stops walking in like he owns the place. Number 5. Make your words rare enough to matter. A man loses authority when his words become easy to access. When you speak too often, people stop listening. When you explain too much, people stop respecting the explanation. When you answer every question, defend every motive, correct every rumor, and narrate every feeling, you train the world to treat your voice like background noise. That is why silence is not only the absence of sound. Silence is the discipline that gives your words value. A man who speaks less forces people to lean in when he finally speaks. A man who speaks constantly forces people to tune out before he finishes. You must understand the economy of attention. Words are currency. Spend them like a poor man, and you become poor in influence. Spend them like a king, and every sentence carries weight. Most men throw language everywhere because they are afraid of being misunderstood. They explain their intentions, their pain, their plans, their standards, their anger, their loyalty, their entire inner world to people who have not earned that level of access. They think explanation creates respect. It does not. Often, explanation creates evidence. Evidence for manipulators, evidence for critics, evidence for people who are not listening to understand you, but listening to find the soft place where they can enter. So become more selective. Stop giving long speeches to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop arguing with those who need you to look wrong so they can feel right. Stop handing your private reasoning to public minds. There are people who do not deserve the architecture of your thoughts. They deserve the conclusion, nothing more. A calm yes, a clean no, a final silence. That is enough. You do not need to decorate every boundary with emotional furniture. The dangerous man does not flood the room with words. He drops one sentence and lets it sit there. He allows silence to work after he speaks. This is important. Most people ruin their strongest sentence by adding weaker ones behind it. They say the truth, then soften it. They set a boundary, then explain it. They make a decision, then apologize for having standards. They deliver a powerful line, then keep talking until the power drains out of it. Do not do that. Say what needs to be said, then stop. Let the sentence breathe. Let the other person carry the discomfort. A word followed by silence becomes heavier. A boundary followed by silence becomes harder to challenge. A decision followed by silence becomes more final. When you speak and immediately start explaining, you invite negotiation. When you speak and stop, you create structure. People may not like it, but they will feel it. And feeling your structure is more important than enjoying your personality. This is where cold influence begins. You do not use words to impress. You use words to position. Every sentence should either reveal strength, gather information, create distance, offer clarity, or close a door. If your words do none of these things, they are probably leakage, a joke made to gain approval, a confession made too early, a defense made to protect pride, a promise made from pressure, a threat made from insecurity. Cut these out. They weaken your frame. Listen to the way powerful men speak, not the loud frauds, not the performers selling confidence like cheap perfume. I mean men with real command. Their words are clean. They do not rush. They do not chase the listener. They do not decorate their point with desperation. There is space in their speech because there is order in their mind. They can pause without panic. They can be disagreed with without collapsing. They can be challenged without over-explaining. Their voice does not ask, "Do you approve of me?" It says, "This is where I stand." That is the voice you are building. Not louder, lower, not faster, sharper, not more emotional, more certain. Your tone must carry the weight of a man who has already decided himself. Never let your voice rise because someone tries to pull you into emotional weather. Never let your speech become messy because another person becomes disrespectful. Never argue like you are fighting for permission to exist. Speak like your existence is already settled. Speak like your standard is not on trial. Speak like you are willing to walk away from anyone who needs you to become smaller before they can feel comfortable. Comment this phrase below. My words are chosen, not wasted. Put it in the comments like a vow, because every time you waste your words on the wrong person, you make your silence weaker. There is another rule. Do not reveal your plans too early. A man who announces every move invites interference. He invites envy before the work is protected. He invites opinions before the foundation is built. He invites sabotage from people who smile at his ambition but secretly fear his rise. Keep your construction private. Let people see results, not blueprints. Let them discover the mountain after you have already climbed far enough that their doubt cannot reach you. This is not paranoia. This is discipline. Not everyone deserves early access to your becoming. Some people only support dreams that remain small enough not to threaten them. They will clap for your idea while it is harmless, then become uncomfortable when it starts creating distance between who you were and who you are becoming. Protect your vision from casual hands. Do not place sacred fire in rooms full of wind. Speak less about what you will do. Do more. Let your body change. Let your bank account change. Let your skill change. Let your patience change. Let your standards change. Let your circle change. Let your silence become the announcement. There is a special kind of fear people feel when they realize you stopped talking because you started transforming. They were waiting for another speech. Instead, they meet a different man. And when that happens, Do not explain the transformation. Do not give them a tour of your pain. Do not tell them how many nights you rebuilt yourself alone. Do not beg them to understand the cost. The cost is yours. The result is what they get to witness. A private war does not need a public documentary. Let the scars stay beneath the armor. You must also learn when not to answer. Not every question deserves entry. Some questions are traps dressed as curiosity. Some people ask about your next move because they want to measure whether they should compete, copy, mock, or interfere. Some people ask about your emotions because they want tools. Some people ask about your weaknesses because they know direct attack would expose them too quickly. So, learn to smile lightly, answer vaguely, or say nothing at all. Privacy is not rudeness. Privacy is security. A man without privacy becomes easy to predict. A predictable man becomes easy to manage. If they know what excites you, what scares you, what wounds you, what tempts you, what you are building, who you desire, what you regret, and where you are insecure, then they have a full map of your inner territory. Why would you hand that map to everyone who asks? Stop confusing openness with strength. Strength is not giving everyone access. Strength is knowing who can be trusted with a key. Your mouth must become a guarded gate. Not a locked prison, but a guarded gate. The right people may enter. The wrong people meet stone. The foolish meet silence. The disrespectful meet distance. The manipulative meet nothing they can use. That is how you protect your power while the world keeps exhausting itself in unnecessary exposure. And when you do speak, speak with precision. Do not say 10 words when 4 can cut cleaner. Do not dress truth in nervous softness. Do not apologize for clarity. If you mean no, say no. If you disagree, say it without begging for comfort. If you are leaving, leave without turning the exit into a debate. If someone asks why you changed, say, "I started listening to my standards." Then stop. Let them deal with the rest. The more disciplined your words become, the more dangerous your silence becomes. People begin to understand that you are not quiet because you lack thoughts. You are quiet because your thoughts are organized. You are not withholding because you are afraid. You are withholding because access is earned. You are not brief because you are empty. You are brief because your power does not need decoration. This is how you show dominance without saying much. You make every word expensive. You make every pause intentional. You make every sentence carry consequence. You stop using your voice as a rescue rope for other people's discomfort. You stop explaining yourself into weakness. You stop speaking just to prove that you have something to say. Because a man who owns his words owns his image. A man who owns his image owns the first battle of power. And a man who knows when to remain silent becomes impossible to handle by those who depend on noise. Number 6. Let your discipline become your threat. There is a kind of man nobody knows how to defeat, not because he is the loudest, not because he is the most violent, not because he walks around trying to look untouchable. He is dangerous because he has stopped negotiating with his own weakness. That is the difference. Most people can be broken because they are already divided inside. One part of them wants power, but another part wants comfort. One part wants respect, but another part still begs to be liked. One part wants transformation, but another part keeps crawling back to the same habits, same people, same distractions, same cheap emotional addictions. A divided man can always be invaded, but a disciplined man becomes hard territory. Your discipline must become the warning people feel before they test you, not the discipline you post for attention, not the discipline you talk about so others clap. Real discipline is private. It is the cold hour when no one sees you choosing the harder path. It is the morning when your body wants softness, but your mind gives orders. It is the moment you want to reply emotionally, but you put the phone down and let silence do its work. It is the decision to walk away from pleasure that weakens you, people who drain you, conversations that poison you, and habits that keep you predictable. Every private victory sharpens your public presence. A man who cannot control his appetites cannot control his image. Remember that. If your hunger owns you, people will eventually learn how to purchase you. Some men can be bought with praise, some with beauty, some with anger, some with attention, some with the fear of being alone, some with one message from someone who already proved they do not respect them. That is not dominance. That is slavery with better clothing. You cannot show silent power while your desires are screaming behind your eyes. You cannot become untouchable while every temptation knows your address. This is why the disciplined man feels different. He does not need to announce his standards because his behavior has already announced them. He does not chase every invitation. He does not answer every desire. He does not expose his hunger to people who would use it against him. He knows that every uncontrolled craving becomes a leash, and every leash eventually finds a hand. So he cuts them early. He becomes selective with pleasure, selective with attention, selective with access, selective with loyalty. He does not live like a man trying to taste everything. He lives like a man building something that cannot be touched by ordinary weakness. People sense this before they can explain it. They feel when a man has rules. They feel when he does not move randomly. They feel when his time has value, when his body has been trained, when his mind has been hardened by solitude, when his emotions no longer spill out for anyone to drink from. They may call him distant. They may call him intense. They may call him cold. But beneath those words is a quieter confession. They know he is not easy to handle. That is what you want. Not to be hated, not to be feared like a fool with rage, but to be respected as a man with internal law. When you have internal law, you do not need to argue with every test. Your life answers for you. Someone tries to distract you, but your routine refuses. Someone tries to guilt you, but your standards refuse. Someone tries to flatter you into lowering your guard, but your memory refuses. Someone tries to pull you back into an old version of yourself, but your direction refuses. This is cold power. Your future becomes stronger than your impulses. Your mission becomes louder than temptation. Your standards become more important than the approval of people who never had the courage to build themselves. Comment this phrase below: "My discipline is my warning." Write it like a contract with the man you are becoming, because once your discipline becomes visible, your silence no longer looks empty, it looks earned. And understand this carefully. Discipline is not only about work, it is about refusal. The ability to refuse is one of the highest forms of dominance. Refuse the argument that lowers you. Refuse the pleasure that weakens you. Refuse the person who only respects you when you are useful. Refuse the version of yourself that needs to explain, chase, prove, and beg. A man's power is not measured only by what he can take. It is measured by what he can walk away from without shaking. This is where most people collapse. They can start strong, but they cannot remain strong. They can make promises in pain, but once comfort returns, they surrender again. They say they are changing, but their environment still owns them. Their phone owns them. Their memories own them. Their ego owns them. Their appetite owns them. Their loneliness owns them. So nothing changes except the words they use to describe their weakness. Do not be that man. Do not become fluent in self-deception. If you are weak, admit it privately and correct it brutally. Do not decorate weakness with excuses. The silent man with discipline does not need to convince the world he has changed. He lets repetition become evidence. Day after day, choice after choice, boundary after boundary. He becomes less available to nonsense, less impressed by noise, less addicted to validation, less willing to exchange his future for temporary comfort. And over time, something strange happens. People who once thought they could predict him begin to hesitate. They see the old tricks no longer work. They see the old bait no longer pulls him. They see the old access has expired. That is transformation. Not a speech, a pattern. And if you want to go deeper into these ideas, join the Patreon from the link in this video description. That is where we break these topics down with more depth, more focus, and more direct lessons, according to the themes we are building here. If this message is shaping your mind, Do not stay on the surface. Go deeper. The link is in the description. From now on, make your discipline so consistent that it becomes difficult for people to imagine you returning to weakness. Let your routine become your armor. Let your restraint become your reputation. Let your standards become the locked gate between you and everything that once controlled you. Because when a man can command himself in silence, the world has fewer places to attack him. And that is when dominance becomes real. Not because you said it, because your life stopped contradicting it. Do not interrupt a person while they are showing you who they are. Let them exaggerate. Let them explain. Let them joke with poison under the tongue. Let them praise you with dead eyes. Let them ask questions that are really traps. Let them test your boundaries while pretending they are only being playful. You do not need to react instantly. You need to record accurately. A man who observes without announcing his awareness becomes difficult to deceive twice. This does not mean you become paranoid. Paranoia sees enemies everywhere. Strategy sees patterns clearly. There is a difference. You are not searching for betrayal in every face. You are simply refusing to be blind. You are watching tone, timing, consistency, repetition, and energy. You are noticing who respects your absence and who only respects your usefulness. You are noticing who becomes uncomfortable when you improve. You are noticing who tries to make you feel guilty for having standards. These details are not small. They are doors into character. The cold man does not ask, "What did they say?" He asks, "What do they repeat?" Anyone can say the right thing once. Anyone can apologize when they fear consequence. Anyone can act loyal when loyalty costs nothing. But repetition exposes truth. Pressure exposes truth. Distance exposes truth. Success exposes truth. Watch people when you rise. Some will celebrate you. Some will measure you. Some will quietly compete. Some will try to pull you back into the smaller version they knew how to handle. When you see this, stay composed. Do not become dramatic. Do not announce that you have figured them out. That only teaches them to hide better. Instead, adjust quietly. Give less information. Reduce emotional access. Stop sharing plans. Stop revealing pain. Stop handing them details they can weaponize later. A wise man does not keep snakes warm and then complain when they bite. He learns what they are and stops placing them near his skin. Comment this phrase below: "I see clearly and I move quietly." Write it like a man who no longer mistakes silence for ignorance. There is immense power in letting people underestimate how much you understand. When they think you are unaware, they become careless. When they think you are passive, they reveal their method. When they think your calm is weakness, they show you exactly where their arrogance lives. Let them. Their confidence is useful. Their carelessness is information. Their underestimation is a gift. But never let knowledge make you bitter. Bitterness is still attachment. Bitterness means they are living inside you without paying rent. Your goal is not to hate people. Your goal is to classify them correctly. Some belong close, some belong at a distance, some belong outside the gate forever. Once you know the category, stop arguing with reality. This is how you become untouchable. You stop demanding that people be different from what they have repeatedly shown you. You stop asking the snake to become a guard dog. You stop asking the jealous to become genuine supporters. You stop asking the disrespectful to become careful with your dignity. You see clearly, then you move accordingly. And when you move silently. Let your decisions appear as facts, not threats. Let your distance arrive without warning speeches. Let your standards operate without public explanation. A man who reveals less controls more. A man who watches longer chooses better. A man who knows more than he says becomes impossible to handle by those who depend on his blindness.